I was giving a live webinar the other day, and I was describing one of the most essential ingredients, I believe, of having a great sex life in marriage. And somebody commented, "So you're basically talking about consent." And I'm like, yes, it's that simple. So today I want to talk to you about the importance of consent in your marriage. And I think when we talk about sexual experiences or dating relationships, consent has thankfully been a huge topic of conversation and something that's been really highlighted. And for whatever reason, it seems like when we get married, we forget that we still own our own bodies. We're the ones who get to make decisions about it and say what's cool going on with it or what's not cool. There is this false belief that when you get married, you suddenly own each other's bodies, you suddenly owe each other full access to your bodies. And while that might work for some, it seems like it works for a lot of men, but I don't want to make a broad general statement about that. For women in particular, safety is the most essential ingredient for desire. And so when you're talking about wanting to want it more, the first thing you need to have is control over how your body is used, how it's viewed, the comments that are made about it, and how safe you are in the environment. Now, I'm not talking about actually like physically unsafe. I'm talking about more feeling trust that you can undress in front of your husband without feeling comfortable and watching him oogle over your body, for example, or have him grab your boobs when you're not feeling into it, or give you a slap on the butt. So consent is literally whatever happens to me, it needs to be of 100% cool with me. So whether that is asking for permission before you do something or simply allowing you to initiate. And in my marriage, we generally just go with the fact that I initiate most physical touch. And the irony about that is now we have more physical touch in our relationship because I am wanting that. There is a choice there. So rather than me being on the defensive all the time, now I am wanting it. I am on the offensive. I am tackling my husband down to the ground. It's so sensitive for us women. I mean, I think if we lived in a really healthy society, then maybe we wouldn't need this so much, but we don't live in a healthy society when it comes to women. Women are lacking consent in so many areas of their life. For example, childbirth and what happens to their bodies. There's so little consultation that happens with women and so few options that are available. Having to go to get pap smears every year or 2 years. It's cold, it's sterile, they're shoving things up your vagina. It's not the most exciting experience. So, but women feel like, oh, I don't want to be rude. I don't want to be too needy. I don't want to seem too sensitive. So, but I think if women were practicing asking and requesting and there was more consent happening, I think we would have nicer exam rooms and maybe they'll can heat up that thing that they shove inside of you, or maybe not crinkly paper, maybe some nice cloth sheets on us. So there's so many areas, and I think we just don't even see it because we're swimming around in it. I mean, the rates of sexual assault and sexual abuse are astronomical for women. 1 in 3 are reported, but how many are unreported? And there's just all of this other societal pressures for what happens with our bodies in terms of what it looks like and how we wear our hair and our makeup and our clothing. And even in the work environment, women are used in terms of business dealings and contracts and taking guys out to the bar and wearing low-cut shirts. And I mean, even just menstrual products there's such little advance in science in terms of what's available to us. And this is all relates to consent, because it all relates to how our bodies are used and viewed in society. So that's just to say, I think we're all aware that we're a little unbalanced right now in the world in terms of the masculine and feminine. But that is to say that we are more sensitive to lack of consent in our relationships. So I think the most important thing to know is that no one's to blame here. We're not saying down with the men. When my husband and I learned about consent, and we had been married probably about 10 years, and we're both quite smart people, and we fight for equality of men and women, but we had really let those false beliefs take over in our relationship. And that had me not making clear requests and boundaries, and that had my husband really thinking that I owed him full access to my body, that now that we were married. And so neither one is to blame. Whoever learns about this first is the one who can take action. So if you're watching this video and you're like, I never thought about this, now you got to take action wherever you are. And before I go into how to do that, I won't leave you hanging. I'll give you something to do. I just really want you to know that your body should never be used for anything. Your body is for you to walk around the world in. It's for you to be of service. It's for you with your hands, not for it to be oogled at in terms of being a service. It's to feed yourself and to write and to run and to be active in the world. And it's not to be used for anything. It's not to be used in terms of making your husband feel better about himself, whether that's the way you touch him, or the way you have an orgasm every time you're together, or the way it makes him feel like more of a man or important. Maybe it feels used in terms of being used for stress relief for your husband. So this all has to do with consent. Your body is not to be used for anything. And really, you have permission then to ask for something and then say stop. Just because you ask for something doesn't mean that you have to carry anything through. So I'm thinking about things in the sexual experience. You might be like, might be interesting to have my husband suck on my earlobes. Ugh, I would hate that, but some women might like that. And then you're like, he's sucking on your earlobe, and you're like, not super liking that. And so you have permission. This is your body. You got to do whatever. This is consent. You got to say, I'm done with that. And if he feels rejected, or if he feels frustrated, or he makes a comment about how complicated you are, you can just let him take that on himself. This is consent. Yet another aspect of consent is not saying no without any reason. Just no. Do you want to have sex tonight? No. My body doesn't want to have sex tonight. Now, if this is a chronic issue, as you know, I am the creator of a program called the Wanting It More program. So obviously I am not saying that you should do this for the rest of your life, but if it's a no in the moment, it's a no in the moment, and it's your body and you get to do that. Then if later on you're like, this isn't really working for me either, and I want to figure out how I can want it and enjoy it authentically for myself, that's another matter. That's you saying, I want to do this. This is your decision moving forward. So really, what the whole idea in a marriage is that you want to have two individuals, and you are individuals. I mean, sometimes you feel like you're kind of a mesh and you've become one, and no, that's really, it's like two magnets together. They look like they're one, and maybe they're acting in unity, but when you pull apart them, they are two separate things. Now, what is attracting the magnets? It is magnetism, and what we have for us is love. So there is an attraction force between the two people. But when you really consider it, you're still two separate individuals with your own likes and needs and dislikes, and your individuality and your ownership over your own body. So this needs to be a choice, the attraction, the choice of love that brings two people together. And it cannot be out of force. It cannot be out of fear. It cannot be out of worry of abandonment or emotional disconnection. It has to be out of choice. And that's when a marriage becomes super healthy. And there's a way more intimacy when consent is in place in a relationship. That's the power of boundaries, is they actually draw you closer. So how do you create consent in your marriage? I think the most important thing is to have a conversation with your partner about it and really talk about, that you really need the space and the ability to say no. And your partner could say yes or no. I mean, they can be like, yeah, cool, I'm on it. And you'd be like, you know what, if you don't want me to stick my finger up your nose, then I won't do that either. And they're like, cool, awesome. But they might be like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, I really think that we own each other's bodies and we owe each other this and all of that false beliefs. And so you can do something. I mean, you're part of the pattern, you're part of the dance that's going on right now. So if one person stops it, there's no more pattern and there's no more dance happening. So you just really make clear requests. Listen to what your body is telling you, what works for you and what doesn't work for you. For me, no butt slapping. Not super into that. Not really into boob grabbing. Not really into being oogled at when I get undressed. Not really into wet, slobbery kisses when I'm doing the dishes. So that's my body and I get to make decisions, and so I can then make clear requests. Then some women tell me, well, yes, I've asked this again and again. And usually what I find is that women will say it in kind of a joking way or like a little half comment because they feel a little bit uncomfortable about being assertive about their own bodies. Because again, we live in this crazy culture that tells us that our bodies aren't really ours, that they're, kind of for advertising and for turning guys on and for all sorts of fun stuff. So I really encourage you to say it in a very serious and very direct way. So when my husband just kept on slapping my butt, I would turn around, look him in the eye and say, I don't like that, please stop. And he would feel uncomfortable and he would make a joke or he'd be like, whatever. He's matured since then. There's no more butt slapping. But it's just because they're a little bit uncomfortable and they're getting a little defensive. And you don't need to take that on. It's your body. That's what consent is all about. And having permission when you need permission. So my husband, when we're in a sexual experience, he does not go for any of the traditionally sexy bits. I've got all sorts of other sexy bits he's fine with. My back, he can touch my back anytime he wants. My hands, he can touch my hands. I love that. But if he wants to touch my vulva or my breasts, that is a permission-based area. And we don't even bother with that anymore. I just do the invitations because when I'm saying no all the time, then I'm in the frame of mind of no, no, no. And we don't want that. We want me to be in the frame of yes, 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 I like it. I'm curious. I want more. That's what you want. So wherever you're at in your relationship, I really encourage you to take one step closer towards implementing consent in your relationship. And if your husband needs that, of course he gets that. If he doesn't like to be hugged or kissed or in certain times of the day when he's busy, when he's on a call, at work, he gets that as well. And that's the definition of equality, is that everyone gets what they need to feel safe, happy, and comfortable. I hope that helped you, and let me know how it goes for you. I'll talk to you later.